Hello and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. Today I have the great pleasure of having Eric with me from the United States of America. He is 32 years old and he's a diagnosis of schizoaffective bipolar type. So welcome Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, actually. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, that's great, man. Um, so what it is, my first question is always the same. Eric, I want you to give us a history of your mental health journey. What were your first symptoms? Um, how did you get diagnosed? Did you go into hospital? How are your doctors? That sort of thing, just to get a feel for yourself and how your journey began.
Okay. Yeah, so with me, I was actually first started having problems as a child. My very first diagnosis was when I was 8 years old. Just because I had issues with my emotions, I would have these mood swings, and everyone noticed, but me. I was completely oblivious because I was under the impression, this is how everyone was. I at that age, I really just couldn't understand that I was different.
Yeah,
Um, so I had problems in school, and then the school got my parents involved. My parents, at the time, we actually lived in Florida, and Florida is kind of one of those states, like especially in the '90s, where mental health issues were not taken seriously. So my parents sort of didn't take it seriously. They actually were telling me, we think of this as just your way of having an excuse to misbehave.
yeah,
So that kind of characterized how I viewed my mental illness up until honestly I was an adult. Like I was 25 before I actually went to get help for myself, and by that point I was experiencing hallucinations, and I would hear things. I was actually listening to your podcast with Jen. She said she saw shadow people, and
yeah.
that's actually exactly what I had been seeing in my adult years.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So, as a child, you're kind of having like some sort of bipolar symptoms
Yeah.
when you were younger. Man. I mean, a lot of kids do have mood swings. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, absolutely.
there's it's very most a lot of kids are quite like that, I think. But okay, fine. So maybe it was quite extreme. So you had problems in school, um, and the mental health was not taken. Yeah, mental health has kind of grown over years. The awareness of it.
Yep.
Um, it's kind of like one of the reasons that I do this podcast is because schizophrenia is still in the shadows.
Hmm.
So schizoaffective, they're kind of in the shadows, whereas it's kind of like the anxiety and depression, which is getting a lot of press,
Yeah.
which is fine. But we need awareness for all the conditions, not just anxiety and depression.
I agree.
Um, so then you had hallucinations. These were visual hallucinations. Did you have any auditory hallucinations?
Yeah, and that actually is a problem that still persists. In fact, literally yesterday I just started a new antipsychotic.
Okay.
Um, the auditory hallucinations I have, because I have a like history with my parents where they were very, they just like talked down to me a lot. They insulted me a lot, and my mind sort of plays that on repeat. And so I get hallucinations like that. But for me, it's really bad because like I don't hear them. I hear a specific voice, and it's actually someone who I was engaged to years ago and who died. So
Really?
it's like being haunted by this ghost that for some reason is just constantly insulting me and trying to tell me to kill myself, things like that.
How long has this been going on for?
So the hallucinations started when I would say 22, I believe.
How does it make you feel, Eric?
Well, it really destroys your self confidence, like especially if because the person like I recognize that voice, I'll never forget it. She was not just my fiance, but my best friend. So it's like, if you're someone who you loved just came back to you every once in a while to tell you you're a piece of shit. I mean, you just can't have self confidence with that happening. Um,
Fine. Um, yeah, because I kind of want people to understand how it feels like to have these conditions.
oh yeah.
Um, uh, did you have any other symptoms apart from the hallucinations?
So I have actually something I've had since I was a kid. I've actually kind of been able to deal with it as an adult. Was I would have delusions that people could hear my thoughts.
Yeah.
I was really, part of that does come from, like my upbringing with my parents. Like if I had a journal, I don't keep journals anymore because as a child, if I had a journal, they didn't like what they saw in my journal, they beat me for it. And then just sometimes people would act towards me certain ways that I wouldn't understand unless they could see like some of the dark thoughts that were in my head, and I started to think that maybe people mistreated me because they knew what I was thinking. They knew that there's something going wrong with me.
Is that delusion still persist now?
It does, but it's something I've been able to cope with. I've actually developed the skills to really deal with it and understand that I do have a private internal life.
Okay, fine. I mean, so tell us how what sort of emotions go through you when those delusions were at their worst. What Tell us how that felt like.
It's you know I feel so paranoid. Um, if you think you can't think things, you try to just put everything out of your head. Don't think anything, or just try and think, about like happy things, like positive things, like think about compliments about all the people around you, because hey, if they can hear you, I mean, they're not going to fault you for that, right?
Yeah.
Uh, s-
Um. Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
and just not being able to trust people because you don't know. It's like if you don't know like what people know about you, I guess it's very hard to trust what they think of you.
Yeah. I kind of feel that a lot of folks with these conditions just want to be honest, don't they? They just want to tell the truth because they want the truth from people they talk to. You know.
Yeah,
Um. And and that in a way that's a good thing really because yeah. Okay. So you're on medication, right? You're on antipsychotics or
correct. Antipsychotic, I had just started, and of course, I'm on lithium for the mood swings to stabilize.
yeah, because you've got bipolar type schizoaffective. So schizoaffective um, is generally a combination of schizophrenia symptoms and bipolar symptoms.
Hmm.
Um, so that means you get the psychosis, the hallucinations, and the mood swings. What I want to know also is how does the medication affect you?
Well, this new antipsychotic is called Rexulti. One I'm sort of noticing just like a very common side effect with a lot of atypical antipsychotics, where you get like you get stomach aches, stomach cramps,
Yeah,
stuff like that. It was a little harder to sleep last night. That's actually kind of why like I wanted to get up earlier for this, but it happens that way sometimes.
yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask about your sleeping patterns. Um, do you feel that is how do you feel that is affected by the medication? I mean, what was the reasons that you changed your medication? Was it because of the side effects or the efficacy of it?
It was actually both. So I was on Risperdal, and I've actually posted this before, that how it just makes me so anxious, but it also really wasn't doing anything for me.
Mm.
I actually, so I have been hospitalized multiple times throughout my life, and I basically they gave me Risperdal, and when I was in the hospital last year. like literally a year ago. Um, and I just I hated the place I was in so much. There was so much violence around me. There was so much conflict. It was a scary place to be. It's actually a pretty notorious hospital in my area. So I'm just like, you know what, Risperdal is great. I want to get out of here. Let's go. I'm cured. No voices. Never heard anything. We're good. Let's go. You know.
Okay, fine. I mean, you know, I think also the life of someone with this condition, like you say, you've been hospitalized multiple times. It's difficult to find that stability, isn't it? Um,
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
and also you kind of what helps with making a person stable is a good support network and also support from the state as well. I mean, how do you feel about the support that you're getting?
Um, so it's like a mixed bag. I have a wonderful partner who is 100% supportive. I couldn't, ask for a better person to be with me. And the my family I do have as supports, but they have like there's only so much they can really do because they kind of have a difficulty understanding like some of the problems that I have. Like if I'm like I've been manic for the past few weeks, and I'm like I've probably averaged maybe at most hour of sleep at night for the past few weeks.
Okay.
And they don't like when I'm like sleeping all day. It's like I can't sleep. Literally can't. I try. I meditate. I drink chamomile tea. I wind down. I do all of these like these rituals to try and help me sleep,
Yeah.
and it's just the illness just does not care.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because like for me, I guess the two major side effects for antipsychotics is the drowsiness and also the weight gain. Have you
Right.
noticed anything about the weight gain? Is that something that has affected you?
Um, so I like yes and no. Well, yeah, I've gained a lot of weight in the past like 4 years. In the past 4 years, I've gained 100 pounds. But it's hard to say that it's because of the antipsychotics because I'm also eating a lot and drinking a lot of like soda and stuff to cope because I don't really have that healthy of coping skills.
Okay. So, Eric, what I want to ask you is, do you work, or how is your day-to-day life at the present?
Yeah, so daily, my primary occupations are I don't like work in terms of like I don't have a job employed with someone else. I'm currently getting disability from Social Security, and I do other things like I donate plasma for money, and but I go to school full time and I take care of my daughter.
Okay, fine. What? Yeah, okay, fine. So, are you going to school to look for work, or is there a reason because of the illness that you feel that work is difficult? Can you tell me the barriers to work for someone in your position?
Oh, absolutely, because this is something also that I think my family has a little bit of trouble understanding too. Is so when you don't have a degree, you pretty much working in customer service or food service jobs in my area, or you're doing sales, but these are all things that require interacting with people a lot, and for me, like I can do it. Like when I'm stable, I'm good. Like I'm really good. I do very well in these jobs. I've worked sales for years. I did work for most of my life. But when I start to get psychotic, it's like people don't want to go to a cash register to have them talking to someone who's not there. Nobody wants to talk to that person. Or
Yeah.
same with sales. Nobody wants to go to a sales meeting to have me like quietly sitting there, like a scared squirrel, afraid to say anything to them.
And has this affected you as a person? Your kind of your sort of reticence. You think, well, I've seen it what happens before, and I just don't want to go through this again. Um, I mean, tell me about that.
Yeah, there is definite trepidation with rejoining the workforce for me. I think, and essentially, this is what find the value of school in, because if I'm confident in something, even if I even if I feel out of place, or even if I feel scared, when I'm confident in my ability to do something, it's just it's night and day. I can still hold my own and not buckle. But if I'm not confident in my ability to do something, like if I don't feel I can really sell to a person because I'm like out of my head, then it's just to me it feels like climbing up a mountain. It's so hard for me to actually approach that situation with saying I can do this.
Yeah, I think genuine confidence in your ability to do a task is so important for people with mental health problems, because we find it very difficult to fake confidence.
Right.
Because we're we just be who we are, and so I think genuine confidence in the ability to task is so important. Yeah, I agree with you. Um, yeah. Okay.
So
Okay, Eric. Yeah. So let me ask you some more questions. I've got a list of questions here. Um, do you read any books? I mean, what sort of books do you like?
yeah, I love books. Ever since I was a child, I was constantly reading. I mean, right now I'm doing a lot of reading of
Yeah.
textbooks. Um, but for leisure, I I was really into A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones book series, um, and also
Does it help you? Does it help you reading?
absolutely, yeah. Anything that can distract me. A good story, if it can distract me, will it's very therapeutic, and honestly, I feel it's a solid coping skill.
Yeah. And what about movies? Do you like to watch movies?
Yeah. So I'm really into horror movies. Well, horror movies and comedies. I like the combination.
Yeah.
So I watch those with with my partner. Watch it with our daughter. It's fun, and that's again, that's coping for me. That's how I can keep myself sane.
I mean, what would you do? How do you feel people sort of understand schizoaffective schizophrenia? How do you feel people understand that? Just regular people.
Um, well, I mean, just from my perception of, I look at obviously social media and popular media like movies and stuff, for to kind of get an understanding of how people at large view things. And if you go look at Hollywood movies, schizophrenia is kind of like people think it's like you go on some adventure in your head. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Everything's beautiful. Kind of, but a little bit scary. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Think of films like Sucker Punch and Shutter Island, those sorts of films, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the movies. I don't dislike the movies because of that, but I think it's hard for people. Like they try to put things in a way people can relate or at least understand,
Yeah,
and that I mean, that's a problem with any type of scientific endeavor. People like pop sci more than actual science because it's easier for them to digest. Nobody can really sit there and go through the whole DSM and be like, "Oh, this is what all these disorders mean." They just don't have time for that.
I mean, these conditions are kind of lifelong. I guess that's one part of the severity of it.
Hmm.
I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you? I mean, because like for me, I don't really think about it. I mean, what is your take on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for years, I didn't get treatment because I never thought of myself as having a problem.
Yeah,
So, and sure, when you don't understand you have a problem, you don't think of it as anything. Like it doesn't even occur to you that there's an issue. So you're just like everyone else. But like when you look at it from the lens I have now, I try not to think, I have a lifelong disease. I think I have lifelong habits I need to develop because I'm always going to be in recovery.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel you've experienced discrimination before?
Um, yeah, I mean, so it's in a way, but I guess like I don't really know what I expected people to do and some of the situations I put them. Like, I have to call out a lot when I had to call out a lot when I worked a job in a like a disc replication factory like 10 years ago. So I got fired, and I mean that's like nowadays with FMLA and all of that in the states, like they can't really do that. So from the lens of now, that would seem like discrimination, but back then we didn't have those rules, and I couldn't have expected anything else. So it's but I mean, actually, probably a more poignant example is I have in school when I was a child, because there were some really kind of damaging experiences I have. Like one time, for a while, the teacher, like if I started to act up, like if I was manic and like I was talking a lot, very jittery, they put me in like the broom closet because in
You
those
kidding?
schools back then they had closets. They put you in the closet as a punishment. You have to do your work
Wow.
there.
I mean, do you think you suffer from self stigma, where the stigma is how we're brought up with the condition? Because I think this is quite a common thing where we kind of like attack ourselves, with oh come on, we can do this, we can do that, it's all in my head. Do you think you suffer from self stigma?
I definitely have. I'm not. I think I have a good perspective now, but growing up, my parents, were saying you're only doing this to misbehave, have an excuse to misbehave, and like
Yeah,
that's what I believed. I actually believed for the longest time. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just choosing to be bad.
yeah. And it's a difficult mindset to get rid of if you grew up with that, I guess.
Right.
What about bullying? Have you been, maybe as a child, possibly you were, but as an adult, have you faced adult bullying?
Um. I see. I don't like to think of it as because from my background, my dad had always tried to like tell me, it doesn't matter what people say about you if you stand up for yourself, So like if I say, people have like always like made fun of me for like, I have tics and stuff like that where I'll get in my head and I'll be twitching and things like that. People make fun of you for that stuff. If you have
Yeah,
weird little idiosyncrasies, like even people like your boss, like your manager will like bust your balls over that. Um, so, I mean, in a way, but I don't like to think of it because, like, as bullying, because, I did tell them off. Like, I would get mad if people got too aggressive with me, or, so it's not like I just was a victim. I did try to stand up for myself when I could.
yeah. I guess what I think. I mean, you know, I'm sure you can. You're a strong person, but the issue is that sometimes we are vulnerable, and
Yep.
and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
It's just maybe it's just a bad day, and we're not able to portray that public face that we all have. Um, and so it can be difficult sometimes, I think. Um,
I definitely agree.
yeah. I mean, Eric, how would you like um, the public to change? How would you like the world to change to acknowledge your condition?
Well, honestly, it's not even just like my condition or any mental illness. I think there's a key way that our society needs to change, and that's to just like chill the fuck out. Like you don't have to be on someone's case. Like you don't have to like see something that like seems off to you and instantly insult someone over it. Just like move on. It's you doesn't have to be your business. You know, just stop going out of your way to make other people miserable. Like we're all miserable because of other things in our world. Our we were born to a world of scarcity. Things suck for a lot of people, and we don't need to make it worse for each other.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people talk about narcissists, and they cause a lot of problems. It's difficult to pigeonhole people like that. I think it's
Yeah,
probably sort of narcissistic behavior in some folk. Do you know what I mean? It's not. I
yeah,
don't think anybody. It's not black and white, is it?
right,
Um,
right,
but yeah, there are some people who can be cruel and unkind, and and it doesn't help society, like you say. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just wanted to add, just in general, I just all of us. I think everyone can benefit just focusing more on improving ourselves over bringing down others. You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That. I mean, to me, when you say those sorts of things, I tend to think we need to be kind of more spiritual rather than material, capitalistic, all this sort of thing, but more spiritual, where we feel sort of more compassion to our fellow man, to our fellow woman, a compassion for nature, a compassion for all living things. I think I think that's what I think when you talk about those sort of things. You
Yeah,
know, um, and it's difficult because it's not like religion, where they're just trying to teach you how not to go to hell. But
right.
spirituality is really about just being more compassionate to folk. I think it's so important.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100% there. Um, yeah, I definitely, I feel like because when I was young, down in Florida, like there's a lot of like religion. Um, I was kind of sucked into that because that's just what's around, and I was pretty devout Christian as a kid, but I started to realize I didn't care so much about the Christian churches. I was just extremely respectful, or I had just had a lot of respect for Jesus Christ and like his philosophy. I didn't
Yeah,
care about the Old Testament. I just liked Jesus and the way he thought of how you should treat people.
yeah. I had these comics. I think when I was in hospital, this long time ago, about 50, over 15 years ago, maybe longer than that. But I had these comics of Jesus Christ's life, and that was so much more useful for me than any religious education lesson or any Bible, because it just Jesus was like a really cool guy. And like if there was like an authority figure, he would point out. He was a bit like Socrates from ancient Greece. He would point out the what they were doing wrong. He was like kind of like a rebel to authority, which is really cool, and you don't really hear so much about it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Eric. I think we're about to wrap this up, and I just got two more questions for you. The first question is I want you to speak about anything which I haven't asked you so far. If there's anything you would like to talk about, please do.
Um. Well, so one thing I struggle with, and especially when you get psychotic or you get manic, and you're experiencing these things at the same time, tend to get very irritable. Um, One thing everyone should really try to understand is even if you're extremely mentally ill, do everything you can just to be, even if it's the hardest thing you can do, just to be kind to the people around you, the people that are in your support network, even if they're not perfect, even if sometimes they can't be there for you. Just give them a smile and tell them you appreciate them. Even if you're in your darkest moment, it's going to make you feel better if you just appreciate someone who's been there for you.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. You don't often hear that perspective, but yeah, that is that takes a heck of strength of character, I think, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Eric, the final question is, what type of music do you like? What kind of genre?
So I'm extremely eclectic.
Hmm.
So I'm really into like Baroque composers like Bach. I mean, it's like pretty mainstream composers
Yeah.
like Bach, and then Romance, Beethoven, and Mozart, and all that. And But I also get I like heavy metal. I like some more like older bands. I don't really know how to define their genre, but I've been really into like Creedence Clearwater Revival,
Okay.
um, and kind of like I guess it's like 60s, 70s type of music.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Well, that's fine. I just want to say thank you for speaking with me and to speaking to our listeners and just helping to get that knowledge out there, that awareness, that education of schizoaffective and schizophrenia, these conditions. I just want to say thank you, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity.
No problem at all, man. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.